I said, I've asked this middleman to ask Bolt Eyes, right, to get the money back from Tucker. He's asked him for the money back. Tucker's told him to F off, right? Bolt Eyes is not happy. That's been fed back to me. So at the time I've said, right, I'm involved in international drug trafficking. The money's irrelevant. I'm a bit of a bullshit bastard. I've turned around and said, right, boom, fuck it. I've lost 140 grand. I'll give you another 140 grand. Bolt Eyes sort it out. Murder him. Tucker, basically. Take the contract on Tucker. That's what I've said. That's what I've told them. So I said, it was me who told Bolt Eyes through middlemen, I've paid £140,000 cash in a carry bag, passed it over for the contract to be taken out on the target, Tony Tucker. Pat Tate, I've said, and Craig Rolfe are collateral damage. Right? I just happened to be there. Right?
So how do you feel about it now, about killing Tucker?
I didn't do it. Right, listen, we'll get to that.
I am only joking.
Yeah. So, mate, the whole thing is a joke. Well, it's not funny, is it? This is serious business. My side of it is more serious than their side, but their side is still serious. And I get why people look. Another reason for getting involved in this, for making up this story that fitted to their narrative, bearing in mind that they were involving me before I involved myself. I've just made up a better version of Jasper that is more believable, right? And it is more, isn't it? Do you agree or disagree?
It is, but, you know, putting you aside for a moment, I've met the alleged assassin. They say who's the assassin, Mr. D. And he's got a wife, he's got children, you know. And this program will cause that guy a lot of problems and his family. So that they should take all that into account when they're going off on these wild conspiracy theories. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it is. That they haven't. I mean, have they checked your story out?
Look, this is what happened. Obviously, let's go back. So I've told one of them on the phone that in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So he, later on that day, wants another call. So I have a three-way conversation later on in the day with the officer in the case, the other ex-detective, right, and myself. So I tell them exactly what I've just told you, that version of it.
Except for the punchline.
What's the punchline?
You didn't kill him.
No, I said I did.
Oh, but I mean, you haven't told them that you're lying.
Why would I do that?
No.
The idea of spinning on this story, yarn, is obviously, look, boom, to try and get out this shit.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. This here.
In much the same way as, not to the same extent, but John Williams held up the traffic on the M25 knowing he'd be nicked just so he could get into court. And have his say. He was using it as a platform.
Williams knows that they're guilty.
Well,
this is not fiction.
Yeah.
This is fact.
John would dispute that. I agree with you, but John would say no. In fairness to John. But
I'll bury him in a minute.
He used that.
Yeah. He's trying to do what I've tried.
He sacrificed being nicked to give himself a platform.
Like I did with the seige and all that.
Which is what you're...
We're along similar lines.
Yes, that's what I was
It's a similar sort of like plan, if you like.
That's what I was trying to establish.
So anyway, I have a three-way call with the two ex-detectives and myself. I've told exactly what I've said earlier, boom, 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 right? But then also I've said more about my history, the link to the FARC, the terrorist, MI5, fit up, Chief Constable's weapons, a bit more of the story, without going into too much detail about my history, the drug trafficking, all the rest of it. We was on the phone for about 40 minutes. Then they said, right, we'll be in touch. Now, I've got all the texts and all that thing, right, as evidence. So what it was, a couple of days later, I get a phone call off, not the officer in charge, the other one, and he says, look, we're doing a Sky documentary. And I knew they were doing it because Michael Kelly said he was involved in it. And so do a couple of other people I know, Lee Chapman and Gary Moore, previous friends of mine, right, very well. Obviously, so I knew that was going on. So then he says to me, would I be involved in this Sky documentary? And would I repeat exactly what I've said to them, to the Sky documentary makers, i.e. me taking out the contract, paying 140 grand to Bolt Eyes, because Tuck owed us 140 grand. We never got paid out for the robbery, blah, 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 right? Also, bearing in mind, look, to cover myself any links to Jasper or Mr. D, I made it very clear that all I've done is give a middleman 140 grand in a carrier bag. He's given it to Bolt Eyes, and Bolt Eyes has done whatever he's done. I've no idea what he's done. Obviously, what he has done is got Jasper and this Mr. D, whoever, and boom. I've left all that side of it. I don't know nothing about it. All I've said is take him out.
But that didn't really happen. That's just what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. But I've left that in. So do you see how my story...
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? So that's what I've done. So anyway, so now they've invited me up to film with Sky. Now, he said, we'll disguise your voice. We'll have you covered up, whatever, right, sort of blacked out or whatever and all that sort of shit. So now, look, I've agreed to it. And then I sit back, I think to myself, you know, look, I've either got to go all guns blazing for this or just drop out and not bother. Is it going to cause me problems from law enforcement, from intelligence agencies? Nah. It don't matter whether millions of people see this, whether I put all the evidence out I've got, the satellite, right, all the recordings, all the docket, everything, it makes no difference because nothing ever gets done. Now, let's go back to that filming. I went down there, right, it was a hotel in Waltham Abbey. Better hotel than what you laid out for, but there you go, right?
That's because I'm an honest man.
Yeah, I never got paid for nothing, right? I went down there. I'd never met them in my life, only seen them on the YouTube videos, right? First one to arrive was the officer in charge. He's a big man, like yourself, big man, big tall man, right? So he shook his hand and all that sort of thing. Made a laugh. I said, "It's the man who set me up," right? Had a cup of coffee and all that. My pal was here, here now. So then what happened was the other one come in. We had a chat for about 10 minutes. Now, bearing in mind, look, I was expecting after the filming, right, we got there about 10:30 was the start of it. So we went straight into filming. That lasted about an hour and a half. I'll tell you about the actual filming in a minute, how they done it and what they said to me and all the rest of it, because the questions weren't even, I wasn't even under no pressure. Right, I'll tell you about that in a minute. But what it was, right, I was expecting them, after the filming, right, it was about lunchtime, I was expecting them to go and have a bit of lunch, and I'd have told them more about myself, hence about the FTAC, the mental illness, and all the rest of it, right? It's all part of the story. I've got no worries about disclosing that because I destroy it and show it's a cover-up, right? And obviously today I'm under no antipsychotics, no orders or nothing. My mental health's perfect, right? So boom. But I'd have told them a bit about that, right? And they could have made a decision on what they wanted to do with it. I could have showed them more evidence or whatever, right? What they done after that interview, mate, they could not run out the door quick enough. I was expected to go for a bit of lunch with them. And they find out more about my history, my whole version of events, right? Bearing in mind, they don't really know about the seige too much. They don't really know about none of it. All they know about is this link to the robbery and this connection from their theory, not mine, to these murders, right? That's it. Now, during this filming, what it was, I went in there like that. They called us in more or less straight away. So I've only spent 10 minutes with one, about 20 minutes with the other beforehand. We get called in there approximately 10:30. The director's ready to film. Now, you'll see this. When we go in, the room's smarter than this. There's a two-seater settee there. One sat that side, one sat that side, facing me in a chair. Now, there was a camera on my back. I had a hoodie on, a grey hoodie. So there's a camera on my back and there's a camera on them. Now, I did not know, when I turned up for this interview, I did not know what they were going to ask me, what questions they had laid out. Like, you're not asking me nothing, really. You just let me roll with it, which is, I suppose, the best version of what to do. But they had a set number of questions. They were about 15 questions that they asked me. Connections to the murders, connections to the robbery, based on what I told them. But look, I was expecting to be put under a bit of pressure, right? That maybe I might have a bit of time to think about some of these questions. They might be a bit awkward, okay? Mate, the questions, what they asked me, were like asking a child. It was so simple to answer, right? I was under no pressure or anything at all. They weren't really delving into any of it. It was very skidding across the subject, if you like. Asking me sort of questions what I've already answered to them. Not really going into it or finding out more about me. They didn't want to know about none of that, really. Right, these questions weren't about that. So it was 15 questions. My pal was there. And these questions, you'll see in this documentary, every question they asked me, I answered it without any hesitation, any flicker of emotion, nothing. It came out of me, boom, 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 like it was scripted, like I was an actor. Boom, 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 under no pressure or nothing. Thank you very much. And this is laughable, right? When we had to do this a couple of times filming it, look, I'm a film star, this is just fucking ridiculous. I don't even want to be here today, really, but mate, it's going to come out and then whatever, right? You're doing a book, whatever. Who cares, right? People see the truth and that's what it's about for me. Nothing's going to happen because nothing ever does, right? I show all the corruption, but it ain't going to get nowhere. I don't expect it to, right? So going back, when we've like acted a part, when they asked me the question, who did the murders, right? And I turn around and say me, they act all shocked like that, like they're all shocked and shit, right? And surprised. Well, we had to film that a few times. Mate, it was embarrassing. I felt embarrassed, is the truth. Anyway, after that meeting, like I say, they've run off as quickly as anything. I haven't even detailed anything about myself, about my history, about anything of it. They know hardly anything about my story.
So after the interview, because the first thing they're going to allege is that I've put you up to it or the police have got in your case. After the interview, who did you inform that you'd lied to Sky?
That was in, when was that, Sky? October. I've got the dates here. October.
You did the filming in October?
The filming, I think, I've got all the things here. So dates I'm not very good at. So anyway, that was in October. What it was, look, if they were law enforcement and I've told them what I've told them, right, boom, then technically they would have had to caution me and take me in for questioning, right? If I'm admitting to being part
well,
of
you think they would have informed the police? Yeah.
Well, look, they said in their emails and texts that they'll do everything they can to protect me. How can you protect me if I'm throwing my hands up to being involved in a triple murder?
Very good.
Okay. And ultimately, look, who in the world, look, listen, they're that desperate for this link and to cement their narrative. And I've come out, I'm the golden goose, if you like. And they haven't done any checks, any background information, any forward information relating to me or anything about me, right? What it was to protect myself, I waited a period of time, and I am denied about this because what I'd done next, the email and who I sent it to, mate, they could have got straight on the phone and tipped him off. So what it was, I waited till, you've had the email, Bernie.
I've got the email, yeah.
You've got the email. On the 22nd of November, I contacted directly. I don't go to anyone else. I contact them directly. Email the Chief Constable of Essex Police myself, Harrington. I emailed him. You've seen the email, Bernie, and I basically told him, dear Chief Constable, boom, 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 making you aware of a Sky documentary coming out in the future. This is what it's about. This is what I've said. Boom, 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 boom. I'm giving you the opportunity now that this is all nonsense. Bow eyes, the 140 grand, the robbery, everything that I listed, I can destroy and undermine.
So just to top it all. Prior to this fiasco, had you ever heard, seen or met Mr. D?
Never heard, never seen it.
Billy Jasper?
Never heard, never seen it.
Bolt Eyes Clark?
Never heard, never seen it. Although that man I did name, there was a connection where we went and met the money launderer to Brinksmat, but that wasn't him, it wasn't Clark, and this wasn't until 10 years after they got murdered.
10 years later. Did you sit round, stand round, lay on the table at any time discussing the murder of Tucker? Have you ever put money up for Tucker to be murdered?